Hi, everyone. Welcome to Kiki and Kibbitz. It's Mary. I'm here with this week's edition of 90 Days and 900 Seconds, 90 Day Fiance, Before the 90 Days, Season 6, Episode 2. Say anything. And boy, do they say anything, especially Jasmine, but we'll get into that more later. So, if I was going to give this episode a grade, I guess I would give it a solid C. So, it's the second episode of the season. All new couples except for Jasmine and Gino. Um, Couples except for Tyray and Carmella. We'll get into that more later. So let's put 900 seconds on the timer. I will try to stick to 900 seconds, but being that it's the second episode, a lot of stuff to get into. So let's hop right in. So let's start off with Jasmine and Gino. So Gino is having Sunday dinner with Uncle Marco. Remember Uncle Marco, guys? Okay, so it's Uncle Marco, Uncle Marco's wife Michelle, and his cousins Christina and Dana. Now we're gonna find out later that Dana had the nerve to send to actually comment on a Facebook post to Jasmine whether Jasmine really loves Gino or she just wants a green card from him. But more about that later. Okay. So Gino was having his final Sunday dinner with Uncle Marco and his cousins. And we have a little flashback moment. Remember the last tell-all when Sean asked Gino if he was going to get a prenup and Jasmine flipped the fuck out and Jasmine's like, hell's no. If Gino fucks up while I'm in the United States, I'm kicking him out of the house and I'm taking every penny that he has. I'm keeping the house, the clothes in it, and everything. And Uncle Marco and his family were like, I don't think so. Well, they're having this talk again. And it turns out that Gino's gonna ask Jasmine for a prenup. We all know how Jasmine is gonna take this. She's gonna blow a freaking gasket. Okay. But Gino is gonna man up and he's gonna ask for a prenup. And his family's like, you need to have your backbone, Gino. This is important. When you go over there, you cannot wussy out and you need to stand up to Jasmine and you need to, ask for this prenup. Because if you're afraid to like approach her about subjects like this, then this might be a sign that this is not a good relationship. So, okay. So now, next scene, Jasmine is walking into a restaurant. Her friends are sitting at the table. And just like any other normal dinner date with your friends, they are bringing her a gift. What is the gift, you may ask? Butt plugs. Yes, you heard me correctly. They brought her a butt plug kit because Jasmine is preparing her ass. Yes, you heard me correctly. They had a whole discussion on national television about how Jasmine is preparing her neither parts for Gino. And I'm not going to explain explicitly like she did on national TV because I will probably get a strike for YouTube for explicit sexual content. But Jasmine was allowed to sit up there on national TV and explain how she was preparing her neither parts for Gino. Okay? That's all I have to say. It was gross, unnecessary, and vulgar. So, yes, she got aqua blue butt plugs from her friends, and she is going to be preparing her behind for Gino to spice up their sex life, because she is willing to do anything to spice up her sex life. Okay. Uncle Marco is now driving Gino to the airport. And Uncle Marco has high hopes, but, not really, because he knows that once Jasmine comes bouncing her boobs in Gino's face, all of his good intentions are going to go to jelly. And, you know, according to Jasmine, that's not the only thing that goes to jelly around her. Remember last episode, she kept complaining about this. So yeah, a lot of things go to jelly around Jasmine, Uncle Marco. I'm sorry to tell you. So Gino's all excited. He has his passport stuffed in his underwear. He is ready to go. Gets on the plane, lands in Panama. Jasmine is so excited to see her, what is it? Bonito Gringo. And, you know, she jumps into his arms, gets lipstick all over his face. And if they weren't in a public place, her lipstick would be on her favorite piece of meat. You see what I mean? She is so vulgar for no good reason. And yeah. So we know how this is all going to go. It's going to be like 6 episodes of Jasmine screaming about Gino's sexual problems. Because as we see in next week's little preview, which I will talk about later, Gino has sexual problems. So, anyway, moving on, Riley and Violet. Okay, this is a train wreck. I see it coming and I cannot look away. So Riley is getting ready to go to Vietnam to meet Violet, the love of his life that he doesn't trust for crap. He does not trust this woman as far as he can throw her. But he's going to go and he's going to go to Vietnam and he's going to see and, you know, whatever. But he doesn't trust her. Okay. Let's just call a spade a spade. He doesn't trust her for shit. Okay. So he's going, you know, to his dad's house to tell his dad what's going on. And it turns out he may have a good reason not to trust her because dad has the dirt on Violet. Now, dad is the MVP of this episode. Dad, in Riley's words, is a stubborn SOB who survived COVID and he ain't going nowhere yet. Okay. So when he was, you know, coming out of the hospital, Violet has some communication with him. And apparently, Violet kept up the communication. 150 text messages worth of communication, talking crap about the man's son, crap along the lines of, he's never going to get himself a woman like me. He's going to, you know, you're never going to have a daughter-in-law like me. He's going to grow old and lonely, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it was bad. First of all, why are you texting this elderly man about his son? You don't even know him. Doesn't matter if you and his son are arguing, you guys are on bad terms. You are a grown woman. What the hell are you doing? Leave the elderly man alone. So Riley's dad shows him the text, and Riley is really pissed off. If I was Riley at that moment, I would have canceled my trip. Freak that. But anyway, so Riley decides that he's going to look into hiring a PI in Vietnam. Okay. And, you know, he's doing this, I guess, consultation session. Let's call it a consultation session with this PI. So he asked this PI, you know, what does it involve? If I hire you, what does your services involve? And basically, the PI is like, I'll follow her. Just give me her information. And, you know, because he's like, I have a copy of her passport. And the PI is like, perfect. Give me a copy of her passport and I will monitor her daily activities. I'll follow her, you know, and I'll give you a full report. And Riley's sitting there like, really? Dude, if you have to go to these lengths, okay, for a woman in another country, I would say cut your losses, cancel your trip, take that credit, apply it to a vacation, all expenses paid resort in the Caribbean or something. I mean, come on, somewhere exotic. Forget about going to Vietnam to meet this woman. So he asked the private eye, you know, what are your results in finding out that these people that you are investigating are lying? And he's like, about 80%. And Riley's like, what? 80%. And the guy's like, yeah, about 80% of the people that I investigate turn out to be liars. And Riley's like, oh man. But he doesn't hire the guy because he's, he's like, if it turns out that Violet's amongst that 20% that's not lying, then she's going to be really pissed off that I hired a PI. So maybe I shouldn't do this. But Riley, you have all these doubts about her. Huge red flag that she was texting your father. She didn't tell you about these texts, okay? She lied to you about the divorce, all these other doubts you have in your mind, that it provoked you to seek out this consultation with the PI in Vietnam. I would say cut your losses, take that credit, and go on some exotic vacation, all paid, all expenses paid resort somewhere. That's my recommendation. That's my unprofessional professional opinion. But anyway, who am I? Tyray and Carmella. Okay, so we go back. We're back at the Catfish Scene. Okay, so Dave, the producer, is telling Tyray that Carmella is actually a dude named Christian. And poor Tyray is soaking all this in, and he's trying to process everything is going on. And he's just like, I can't process this, because there was a connection. There really was. There was a connection between us. I have a connection with this person. Okay. And it's really hard for me to let my guard down. So whoever this person is, I have a connection with them. So he's really trying to just process everything. He beats up with his siblings. Okay. Now his siblings are like alarmed because they say Tyray is really, really private. So for him to be calling them and saying, hey, I have something to talk to you about, they're like, okay, what the heck is going on? So he's like, okay, I want to let you guys know that I've been seeing somebody. I have an international girlfriend. And they're like, whoa. I met her on Snapchat. Whoa. I went to Barbados. Remember last year when I went to Barbados? Whoa, you went to Barbados, Tyray? You didn't mention that in the first episode. Yeah, I went to Barbados for 5 days. The COVID restrictions were really, really high. So I had to quarantine for 3 days. Okay, that made sense. So I contacted Carmella, really, really excited to see her. And she just didn't respond. Okay. So she ghosted you. You went all the way to Barbados and she ghosted you. And it turns out that he was giving Carmella money. Small amounts, $20 here, $50 there. But hey, $20 here, $50 there, $20 here, $30 there. Save it up over a course of a year or two. You could get yourself a BBL in some countries. I mean, come on. So anyway, so his siblings are just like, oh my God, his sister is just his brother, or they're just like, are you kidding me? So his sister's like, so then he breaks the news that Carmella is actually Christian. And his sister's like, how do you know? So he tells them that apparently the producers have a recording and a message, but he hasn't listened to the recording because he doesn't think that he could deal with it at the moment. So his sister's like, maybe we should listen to the recording. He gets about 0.2 seconds into the recording and he gets so emotional, he walks out. And his sister follows him and they hug and everything else. And, and I feel really, really bad for him. But, there was one point he was saying that he was hoping it was still a misunderstanding. And it's like, I was going through all the emotions of wanting to reach through the TV and shake the hell out of him. Okay. Like, Tyray, dude, please snap out of the delusional and wanting to wrap him in a big mama hug and just letting him cry in my arms. It's like I didn't know what I wanted to do. All the red flags were there. They were slapping him in the face, and he just didn't see them. And I don't know. I don't know. So now next week, as we see in the preview, his sister runs a reverse photo search. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? You have to have a reverse photo search run for you to be convinced that Carmella is not real. The producers played an audio recording, and it's a dude named Christian. So this is where I'm leaning towards wanting to snatch him to the TV and shake him and then hug him briefly. Just saying. So now moving on. Amanda is on her way to Romania to live her real life fairy tale. Okay. And she's nervous. She's really, really nervous. Rosman is quite the flirt on social media. Okay. So we get introduced to him, and he's doing a strip tease on TikTok for roses. Apparently, the more buttons you take off on your shirt, the more money gets thrown at you, kind of like a male stripper. So he says on a really, really good month, he could make $2,000. Listen, if my man could take off his shirt on TikTok and dance around and do some little dances in his underwear and make $2,000 a month in disposable income, I am all for it, because I know he's going to bed with me. Okay, that's all I'm saying. As long as there's no inappropriate messages, no deep pics or anything of that sort, my man could dance around shirtless in his underwear on TikTok and get all the roses thrown at him. Hey, it's disposable income. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, so he fell in love with Amanda the first hour. And when he meets up with his friend Dina, and they start talking about his prior marriage, it seems like Rosman falls in love very quickly. He has been married before. He was married 3 years ago. He proposed after 1 month, and the marriage lasted for 6 months. And why did the marriage break up? Jealousy over his career. This sounds like a pattern, because Amanda argues with him over his career, even though he told his friend that he loves Amanda because she's so loyal and supportive in everything he does. Arguing with you over your career doesn't sound very supportive to me, but I don't know. That's just me. So Deanna, asks him, are you ready to be a daddy? Because, she's a package, Rosman. It's not just Amanda. It's Amanda and her children. You have to remember this. She's a package. And not only is she a package, she's also a package with baggage. She's a widow. She's not divorced. She's not separated. Her husband died. So you will be the first man that she will be with since her husband. And his own friend is questioning whether he's ready for all this. Okay. So he is giddy. He is so giddy. He's getting ready to pick up his love from the airport. He is practically dancing in front of his closet in a towel. Yes, he is in a towel, shirtless, dancing in front of his closet. So he's waiting for her at the airport. And guys, is it just me, or why was the teddy bear he was holding faceless? The damn bear didn't have a face. I don't know. Just me. Okay. So Amanda gets off the plane. They kiss and whatever, and she looked really awkward. The whole vibe on her part was like, oh shit, I'm here. I'm actually gonna have to go through with this. This is, actually happening. This is not a fairy tale. This is not a movie. I'm not an actress. I'm actually gonna have to do this. And when they walked out, and he kissed her again and he stuck his tongue down her throat, I think that's when reality really hit her, that she was going to have to go through with this and get physical and have real emotions, and that this was just not her being an actress in a Disney fairy tale movie, and he was not just a TikTok prince. Okay. And she was like, don't stick your tongue down my throat. Don't stare at me. Look at, I'm all icky and whatever. And then when they were in his apartment, okay, I don't get why she had to point out he had tissues on his bedside table. Or we know the tissues could be for him during his intimate moments alone. Amanda, why did you have to point that out? Secondly, I think she was rude about the stuff on his sink. Take something, move it to the top of the toilet tank, and put your brush on top of the sink if it bothered you that much. And why did he take his robe off to get in bed? Because it's his bed and he likes to sleep in his underwear. Did you expect him to sleep in his robe? I thought you were sleeping on the couch. You told your children you were sleeping on the couch. You told your son, who, in my professional opinion as a mom, had an unhealthy obsession with your sleeping arrangements. The first thing he asked was, where's the bedroom? And if he wanted to know where you were sleeping, I thought you told him you were sleeping on the couch. No, you slept in Rosman's bed, and you asked him why he was taking off his robe. Why are you doing that? Maybe because he was sleeping in his own bed, and that's what he does. He sleeps in his tidy whities. So if you were uncomfortable, you should have got out of his bed and slept on the couch on the first night. Just saying, Amanda. So next week, because Amanda says this whole relationship makes her feel guilty, she was definitely not going to have sex with him on the first night. Next week, we see a little clip of Rosman joking around that Amanda was horny and sucking on his neck. So, did they have sex? We shall see. And I just want to say something else. Okay. Amanda gets emotional when she talks about her children. And I totally get it. I totally get it. She traveled all the way to Romania, and she misses her kids. But I really think that maybe she just should have put this trip off for a couple of months. I think it was maybe a little bit too soon. I understand, there's no map on how someone should grieve. But I believe from what I've seen so far, and this is my opinion, and we all know opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. Her children's grief is still very raw. And the phone call with her son, and the way her son was just so worried about where mommy was sleeping, I was just like, ugh. Okay, so moving on, we have David and Sheila. And Sheila, you better not break David's heart, or I will fly to the Philippines myself and kick your ass. So David is leaving to the Philippines, and his friend Carlos is driving him. So Carlos is really concerned about the deep communication between Sheila and David, because Sheila does not know American Sign Language. She does not know ASL. And I get it. I get it, because watching David, and David talking about traveling on a plane, and how important it is to have the agents there. So they could tell him if his flights are delayed, because he won't hear the announcements in the background. Reminds me of my mom. My mom, she was a deaf mute. And I'm going to be 50 next year. So I'm a child of the 80s. We didn't have cell phones back then. So there was no typing out on Google Translate and, having, people, type out things on cell phones. My mom used to walk around with a pen and paper everywhere she went, and she used to write out notes for people. And it's like communicating with my teachers and things like that. I remember from very little, my mom used to write notes to my teachers. And it's very, time consuming and cumbersome to write notes back and forth. So, it's and not, a lot of people knew sign language back in the 80s like they do now. There is more people do know sign language now than they did back in the 80s. So listening to David, talk about how hard it is for him to communicate, really reminds me about my mother trying to navigate as a deaf person in the hearing world. And yes, so Sheila, you better not break his heart. But Sheila also is hearing impaired. And then we see how she lives, and the poverty is just heartbreaking. Her poverty, oh my God. Okay, so now we get introduced to Sheila. Her son is 12. She met his father when she was 16 or 17, and things just didn't work out. She lives with her parents, and her house is has no roof, damaged by a fire and a typhoon. They don't have running water. They get water from a pump. They carry it back in buckets to the house. They have limited electricity, but they do have a toilet. And just watching her talk about her house and just seeing how she lives just reminds me how much we really take for granted and how much we have, so much to be thankful for, honestly. So she ruptured her eardrum when she was 6 years old playing with a broomstick. So she's deaf and she has hearing aids, and being with David makes her feel safe. But the one thing she also has concerns about is she doesn't know much sign language, American Sign Language, ASL, and deep communication with David is difficult. So she's going to buy a sexy outfit to pick him up at the airport. She's talking with her friends who have also met David on video call. They think David is handsome and nice. They wish David and Sheila to be very happy together. Worried about communication, of course, because they don't know sign language. Okay. And so basically, Sheila has admitted that she has seen David naked. She's seen his eggplant. It's red, and they're both horny. So, hey, they're perfect for each other. Why the hell not? So all I have to say is, Sheila, you better not break his heart. David, you better not be an asswipe. And I really hope that they figure out their communication and they live happily ever after, because right now they are giving me the fuzzies and they're making me teary-eyed. So that's all I have to say. Next week, we get to meet the 46-year-old virgin. Like I said, Amanda was horny, sucking on Rosman's neck. We get to meet Violet, okay? And Violet is telling, I guess, her friends that Riley needs to prove that he trusts her. Okay, Violet. No. Gio sees Jasmine's apartment, the $3,000 apartment that he's paying for, and immediately he goes, eh. And Jasmine wonders why. And Jasmine's like, don't you find me desirable, honey? And Gino's like, yes, but, all this money that I'm spending is just making me go, eh. And, yeah, Tyray's sister does the reverse picture search. Oh my God, are we back to Yolanda and Williams? Like, please, come on. What is happening here? Thank you so much for watching me, guys. Please subscribe if you don't already. Hit that like button. Hit the notification bell. And please share my video with a friend or 10. See you next week. Thank you so much. Bye.